than any mayor in the history of this city. And just really want to thank this amazing team that is out here. And we want to hear from you. You know, you hear a lot that's going on. It's so important for me to do these one-on-one town hall meetings so you can hear directly from me. Think about it. Go back to January 1st, 2022, when I became the mayor of the city. I remember one of the first stops was a snowstorm. I came out here to Staten Island to show how we're going to operate and to get stuff done fashion. But remember COVID? COVID was here. We were dealing with soaring crime numbers. We were dealing with no one was on our subway system. We were dealing with uncertainty of our schools opening, our children. People were fighting and debating, should they be in schools, should they not be in schools? We were hemorrhaging jobs. Tourism was hurting. You could walk down Times Square and see all our retail shops was closed for the most part. All the issues that we were facing. 3 years later, really 2.5 years later, we recovered our economy. We have more jobs in New York in the history of the city. More small businesses are operated. We moved over 20,800 guns off our street, 80,000 illegal vehicles, including those pesky mopeds that all of you complain about all the time. More jobs in the city history. Bond raters, increase our bond rating. NYCHA housing. Free high-speed broadband for every NYCHA resident. Drop the cost of child care for how many of you have grandkids in here? You know, you have grandchildren. Drop the cost of child care from $55 a week to less than $5 a week. Instead of $220 a month, folks are only paying less than $20 a month. We are invested in foster care children. 600 to 700 aged out every year. They were slipping through the cracks. You know what we're doing? We are paying their college tuition and giving them a stipend once they graduate from college so they can be supported. Dyslexia screening. You know, 30 to 40% of our inmates at Rikers Island are dyslexic. We've abandoned them when in their early years. I'm dyslexic. I didn't learn until I got into college that I was dyslexic. I thought I was dumb. Instead, I just learned differently. If we give children the support they deserve, they can go on and have promising future. We're now doing dyslexia screening at the beginning of this education experience so we can place them on the right pathway in the process of doing so. When you look at employment, public safety, all of those indicators, how you judge how well we're doing. And we did it with 230,000 migrants and asylum seekers that came into the city. Federal government did not allow me to stop the buses from coming in. They said it's against federal law to do so. They did not allow me to permit people to even have a job. They said it's against federal law to do so. A group of migrants and asylum seekers came to me and said, we would like to volunteer and get a stipend, clean graffiti, clean streets, to give back to the city. Federal government said, you can't even do that, Eric. City law required me to house, feed, educate 40,000 children that came into our system by city law and standards. So no matter what happened, not one child or family slept on the streets of the city of New York because of what we've done. National leaders came to this city and said, you set the model, Eric, for the entire country. The country should be doing what you're doing. Cost us a lot, but we weathered the storm. Those independent financial experts looked at how I managed this city, and they said, we're going to raise your bond indicators, and they keep stabilizing how well we move this city forward. All of this, we're being hit with bogus charges because I fought for you and said it was wrong for us to go through this. And people say, well, you need to step down. No, I step up for New Yorkers. I would never stop fighting for the city that I put on a bulletproof vest for 22 years and protected your children and families. I'm going to continue to fight and protect you as the mayor of the city of New York. I'm one of you. I'm one of you. Every one of you, if you close your eyes, you'll think about that little boy in your life that you say, you know what, I worry about that little boy. I'm that little boy that mommy worried about. But because of her love, her nurturing, my belief in God, I went from being dyslexic to being elected to the mayor of the greatest city on the globe. And I'm going to continue to do that job as long as you allow me to do it. So why don't we answer some questions? Open the floor. You know, you got another earring. How are you, ma'am?
Hello, dear Mayor. Good evening.
Good
and
evening.
welcome here for our community. We appreciate it, everyone. You are with us.
Thank you.
And we appreciate everything you do for us, but we have a lot of problems, and we need to solve some of these problems.
Yes.
Like yesterday, I want to go to the doctor. They call me. I cannot call the access ride at after 5 o'clock. And they don't accept me to go to the doctor the second day by access ride. I have to take 3 buses to go to my appointment under the raining and to go to see my doctor. And that's for elderly people, that's suffering. You know, and some people, we don't have enough money to go to taxi or any another transportation. And sometimes we have another problem. Even we need to take the access ride, they get wrong address or wrong the return back, they don't put it back. Like last time, our community, we going to restaurant. They accept us to go to the restaurant. We went to restaurant, but I cannot get pay for it's not enough in the past, and I asked the day before to go with them to go to the restaurant. And said I went there, and the driver, he accepted. But when I want to return back, instead to get like 1745 the address, I get 625. And that's different address, different. And I stuck with nowhere and how to come back from the restaurant, what I have to write, I don't know. And sometime when I go some places, they cancel the riding back. What you do? You calling your daughter, if you have a daughter, you're calling what you're calling. And if you don't have money, maybe you walk.
And first of all, thank you for that. The assessor ride is a state oversight entity, not the city, but we hear it too much. And, you know, what we need to do, Commissioner, we need to pull together our state lawmakers, your state senator, your state assembly person, and we need to really figure out, I don't know why we're still using this form of assessor ride. I think we should infuse it into the Airbnb, not the Airbnb, the ride hail program. There's no reason for the money we're spending. Why can't you just hail that ride, use what all the young people are doing? If young people are using Uber and Lyft, why can't you use Uber and Lyft? They're not using assessor ride. They're not waiting around.
Yeah, but they need $20, $35. You go from here to Brooklyn, you need $125. Who have it?
No, but what I believe we should do, I think that we should be able to offset that cost. There has to be a way where we could use the for-hire Uber and Lyft processing so that you'll know when that assessor ride is coming. You know, when you talk to, you know, like look at one of the real young people here, DM, you look young as anything, you know. When you look at your Lyft or Uber, you know when it's coming. Why are you waiting? That's a second-class system. We need to change the system. We need to think differently about the assessor ride. It's not within my span of control, but we want to sit down with our state partners and say, you should know when that assessor ride is coming. You should know when it's coming. That is what we need to be moving towards accomplishing.
Okay. Also, there is a lot of foreign.
Okay.
When we speaking, you know, maybe they took wrong information.
There's a lot of, what you were saying?
They get like wrong address, wrong stuff.
We hear it all the time, ma'am.
And they come in late, the timing also late, or they don't show up, or they need, like today, I'm going shopping.
Right.
If we don't have 5 people, we cannot take it.
we hear the complaints of inaccessoride all the time. So it's a state issue that we want to come together with our state lawmakers. We have to modernize the system. You should not be dealing with a system that you have to sit around, wait, uncertainty. With all of this technology, that should not still be happening. And we have to change that, and we're going to need help from our state lawmakers. Okay, thank you very much. But this is something we should really look at because we hear it often, and just to think that you have to wait hours, you don't know when. Why we don't? They should know when the accessoride is here.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And we have some supplemental transportation services, sometimes embedded in the older adult centers, and other times we have a borough-wide that's really focused on medical trips and so on, where there are those gaps in services. So you know your center director, you know your executive director of the center here, and your case management team. When you find yourselves, obviously 5 o'clock might be too late, right? They should have showed up and gotten you where you need to be. But if there was a follow-up the next day or some other kinds of appointments, we will make sure that we could step into the breach. But as the mayor said, there's a lot of work to be done on improving accessoride.
So do you know, for those who take accessoride, because I'm not familiar with the processes, but do you know when it's coming? Do you know its route? Do you know when it's here? I'm sorry? Hold on. No, but I'm saying, can you see it? That's what I'm talking about. Like when you use Uber and Lyft, right? You can see where the car is. You can see you can look at your phone and you can see exactly where it is.
I was in the hospital and they sent me one. I went by the car to look for it. It's not there. We send you another one. We send you another
See, that shouldn't happen. The technology that's available now, we got to take the guesswork. So at a minimum, we should be able to take the guesswork out of where is the vehicle, So we're going to sit down with our state lawmakers. We have to upgrade accessoride. We hear it too many times when we do our senior town halls. We have to upgrade accessoride. Thank you for that. And you should not be restricted to move when you want, how you want. You should not be sitting around for 3 hours waiting with uncertainty. It's just not fair, and it's not right.
I went to the church. I went one way, but from Brooklyn to come in here, if there is no 2, 3 people, they don't take me.
Nah, that's terrible. That's terrible.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, we don't have car. I was sitting, they closing the church, they closing after 2 hour waiting like that.
Terrible system. Has to be fixed. Which church do you go to?
I go 8th Avenue, St. Mary Church.
Okay.
I don't.
You pray for me? You pray for me?
I pray and we appreciate it, and everyone, every religion pray for you.
Thank you. All right, do a special prayer for me. But this is something we really need to address because we hear it and it's just wrong to have to sit there for hours not knowing where it is. It's almost disrespectful. This whole system is built on disrespect. Okay.
You know what? The minute I got the first wrinkle, they started.
Where we
Table two?
going? Yes.
This is table number 2. Good afternoon, Mayor. Thank
How are you?
for coming.
Good.
I'm representing for the table number 2. They had a question about the Pot Hill neighborhood. Since CBD had approved it and too many smell, and they couldn't even open a window. How do you could control the neighborhood?
This is people who are smoking out.
Smoking the marijuana, and they can't even open a window on it because they live in the neighborhood for 10 years, but the lifestyle has been totally changed.
Yeah, and it smell like weed everywhere, man. It seems like everyone is is smoking. Once the law passed, cannabis is illegal. What we did is that we saw that there were too many illegal shops open. And so we were able to go back to Albany with our Albany partners. We were able to get the law modified. We closed over, I think, probably up to 1,200 illegal locations now. And the legal locations are now becoming profitable because of all of the illegal ones that we closed down. We're going to continue to close them down, but cannabis is legal. What I believe we need to modify, because I'm hearing from a lot of my educators that our children in school are high all the time. And when you add that to the fentanyl crisis and cannabis, our children are starting their day. Many are going and starting their school day. It's hard enough in school than to go there and being high from cannabis. We got to really go back to Albany and really modify I think, the law and the accessibility to cannabis. But it's legal, so you are going to smell it. You're going to smell it on the streets, because right now cannabis is legal in the city of New York. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you. When I was on the campaign trail, I was talking about that law. Go ahead. Where am I? How are you, sir?
Okay. My question is
Talking to the mic so everyone can hear
my
you.
question is about housing.
Yes.
In this housing complex, there are many vacant apartments. There are many people soliciting apartments.
Talking to the mic. I want everybody to hear
There are
you.
many people soliciting apartments.
Okay.
My question is, it seems that if they're vacant, they're being warehoused. They're not being utilized. We keep talking about affordable housing. You're building new housing. But in our lifetime, we wonder if we're ever going to pass or reach that list that we're supposedly on.
Right. Talk to me about that. Who do I have? Okay, how are you?
Hi, good afternoon.
Good.
Yes, we do have a backlog of apartments that we weren't renting due to the COVID crisis. Right now, we are going into these units, we're getting them buttoned up and ready for rental. It's just going to take a process to get.
So this is in NYCHA?
In NYCHA in general.
Okay, so we have a backlog of housing apartment that must be
Vacant.
That are vacant.
That's vacant that we are prepping for rental.
Define that for me when you say prepping.
Prepping means letting asbestos clearance.
Who's that guy behind you?
This is my neighborhood administrator. That can't be so obvious. Stuff me in my ear, man. In my ear.
Yeah. Okay. So we after COVID, we had a lot of vacancies, and now we're getting those apartments ready for being occupied.
Yep, ready for rental.
Okay. What's the normal turnaround to get an apartment back online?
Right now, we're letting asbestos where we are making sure those apartments are cleared, and we also getting them HUD ready for which is Inspire. It takes 90 to 100.
Got it.
Easy.
So we got. So your question is a legitimate one, because they just stated that they do have a lot of vacancies. So it's not an imagination. We have to make sure that they're lead abatement. We can't let you go back in if it's not safe. But we should do a real analysis on how many apartments we have offline and how do we move to get them back online, because he's right. We know we have a housing crisis. We have a 1.4% vacancy rate. We have a housing crisis. So we have to look at our existing stock and get them back online. And we being a city, we may have to play a bigger role in getting that manpower to get them back online. We got to match the urgency. I'm glad you raised that, because if we have vacant apartments here in this complex, and if the only thing that's holding it up is getting the contractor in there to do the lead abatement, we may have to try to go to the state and use some of our funding to get these contractors back in line. And matter of fact, it's a win-win, because we could train young people that live in the housing complex, train them to do some of the construction jobs to expedite getting it back online. Let me look at that. Give him the microphone. Go ahead.
For seniors, and we have, we were told they're on a list, but we're going to not reach that list.
Right.
I mean, it's that simple.
Right. But and I'm glad you said that, because remember that we did something called City of Yes. Because we have a real inventory crisis, as you were just talking about. We have an inventory crisis, and we were not building more housing to keep up with it. You're building an apartment. We had, using for example, you have a place in the Bronx where we build, let's say, 500 units. We will have 30,000 applicants. because we don't have enough. So now City of Yes is allowing us to build all over the city because these lists are so long, as you were just indicating, that we have to build more to get people to be able to live in their apartments and live in their housing. So that's why we push City of Yes. We broke records in housing building in the city, year 1 and year 2, and we're going to do it again in year 3 fiscal year. But we have to keep up with the demand. And so one way is what you just stated. We cannot have a large amount of vacant apartments. We need to look at how do we expedite that. Thank you for your question. How are you,
Good
ma'am?
afternoon, Mr. Mayor. This is another housing question.
Yes.
And it's from table 4. When we will be able to afford more affordable senior housing built on Staten Island for retired city workers? And besides that, please explain what is 421A rule and how it affects rent stabilized tenants. And is it required to sign a 421A rider before receiving a new lease?
Yeah, okay, so let's first deal with that. 421A has nothing to do if you're a rent stabilized tenant. It doesn't impact you at all. It has nothing to do with that. 421A is a tax incentive to motivate building more housing for developers. So if you're in an apartment and you're paying rent stabilized, that has nothing to do with that. We're big on building senior housing, supportive housing, and housing for our veterans. That has been one of our big focus. We have a major project we're doing down in Manhattan. I forgot the name of the garden, but people are trying to fight against it. Because there's a garden there. We're going to build 100% senior housing and a new garden there. But one of the big pushbacks we have is every time everybody's saying housing is the right, but every time we say we want to build it somewhere, it's like, don't build it on my block. Everybody must have more housing. And so we're really focusing on building senior and supportive housing because it's important, as you say, for retirees. We want people to be able to age in place and not have to leave their city. That's our focus. We have pushed forward major housing renovation. I don't know what the plan is on the Staten Island. We would take a look and see what's projected here. HBD, we have HBD? Okay, there you are.
Yeah, you have HBD in the house.
Okay, all right.
So thank you for providing those stats. I just wanted to clarify and also let you know that on Staten Island specifically, we have over 1,000 units in the pipeline for production. And I know the focus in this room tonight is on senior housing. We have a big project over on and folks are familiar with the Jersey Street Sanitation Garage, right? So that is in the process of being redeveloped for affordable housing with over 230 units of affordable housing, and 90 of those units are going to be specifically earmarked for seniors. So that's one of the major projects that we have that's going to address affordable housing across the city, but also specifically ensuring that there's more opportunities for seniors to have a shot at getting affordable housing here on island. So we have a lot happening across the city, but I just wanted to make sure folks were aware of what we have happening here on Staten Island.
Yeah, so we should find out exactly what's playing out. Somebody told me about a big lot out here. There used to be a hospital or something out there.
Yeah, I think you're referring to Castleton.
Which one?
Yeah, Castleton site. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Exactly.
Are we doing anything? Are we projected to do anything in that space?
That's currently in the thinking process, in the pipeline process, on how that site can be redeveloped for affordable housing, but also for a number of other uses that's really key here on the island.
Got it. Okay.
Can somebody, when it comes time to try to, if you want to get an apartment, can you ask for a particular site? I mean, do you know how it's going to work?
Yeah. How's that done?
So-
Is it open lot? You explain.
Right. So all of the housing that's produced through HPD.
Would it be a particular, like if I wanted to live in the one on down by, I forget the hospital there. Say I wanted that one.
Right.
Would I be going there or?
He'll explain. Let
So we
him
have
explain to you.
Right. We have
Go
a
ahead.
system called Housing Connect where you would apply to be put on the list within the affordable housing lottery. And through that process, you're able to, I believe, select like the locations that you would like to apply for. It's
Housing
called
Connect.
Connect.
He'll make sure we'll give you
I can come
information
over-
for it. We'll give you the information for it. And what happens with Housing Connect, because a lot of people I know that who have received housing, people give up too soon, because the inventory is so little until we build more. But you should keep trying. I remember we did that press conference with one of our seniors, and she says she just kept going. She did not give up. But it's Housing Connect. We'll get that information to you. Okay. All right. Where am I going?
Staying here.
Oh, okay. What are you doing? You double dipping?
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to take advantage of this spot. There is nothing living that should be disrespected. Person, animal, we should respect one another and one that's different from us.
I love that. I love that. Give her a hand. Give her a hand. And before you ask your question, I just want to touch on that for one moment. And that's where we seem to be. Mother used to say, first seek to understand before you're understood. Everyone wants to yell over each other, talk over each other, and just want to hurt each other. Yeah. There's just this level of meanness that people just want to just see each other in pain. And, hurt people and hurt themselves. We need to really dial back all of that. And that's why we have our children doing breathing exercises and meditation in school. We want our children to be academically smart, but they need to be emotionally intelligent at the same time.
Amen.
We need to start caring for each other again.
Well, I had an unhappy home, but I made up my mind that I wasn't going to pass it on. I did that a long time ago. Mm-hmm. Hey, I started doing yoga in 1963, I'll tell you, before it became hip. So
Thank you for that.
Oh, it's nice to meet you, Mayor Adams.
Thank you, man.
God bless you. Yes.
Yes.
A lot of older adults are below the poverty level. And is there employment for people like that? Because they got nothing to do, and they're below the poverty level. They're much older. And, where do they go for that kind of thing?
Great question. People are living longer and more healthier lives. And, 80 is the new 40, People and so last week, we had an older adult hiring hall where we showed jobs that are available, because in this city, you can't discriminate based on age. And many of you have a lot of experience, and we would love even the city government, those who want to work in city government. And so we should do an older adult hiring hall out here.
Absolutely. Ready for that. We had one in Brooklyn to kick it off. And I could see a few people who were in this room who were there as job seekers. We got a few different programs. You mentioned benefits and low income. There's one that ensures that for folks who might want part-time work or job training to make sure skills are up to date for the current needs of the workforce, that we get in. There's also the city side program that the mayor's hinting at, right? There's one called Silver Stars. So any of y'all retirees from city here? Anybody not? You? All right, good. All right, well, we got a program called Silver Stars as well that we're looking really closely at to make sure it's as robust as possible, which brings back older adults who've worked for the city so we don't lose that talent, right? So absolutely, there are programs at our agency to Lafayette, but we'll make sure we get your information, your site director as well. We'll make sure that they have flyers and information on how to enroll here, and we will do a hiring hall.
Let's do that. Let's do that. Because we had a couple of hundred people. Yeah, at the one. And so the mere fact we had those few hundred people at the hiring hall in Brooklyn, it shows us there's a real appetite. Folks want to get back and get engaged in a real way. Okay, I see you over there. I'm gonna come to you, man. We just want to follow our flow, but I'm not gonna leave without you. Okay.
Good afternoon, Mayor Adams.
How's it going?
Great. I'm going to read a question on behalf of my friends here. It is hard for older adults to afford things, especially on a fixed income. What programs exist or can be created to help with this?
Yeah, no, well said. And we can't. I like to say we cannot. We don't control the price of bread, but we could put bread back in your pocket. And this administration said that how do we look at putting money back in pockets of New Yorkers? We put $30 billion back in the pockets of everyday New Yorkers in different ways, from reduced fare Metro card, we're paying off medical debt in billions of dollars. We make sure, like I said, high-speed broadband in NYCHA, lowering the cost of child care. All of those things were our way of sitting down and say, how do we find ways to put money back in the pockets of New Yorkers? So why don't we talk about some of the things on assisting our older adults and make sure you have access. Know what we're finding? You could have programs, but if you're not aware of them, then you're not going to utilize them. SCREE and DREE and SNAP, all these different programs. So why don't we
Absolutely.
go?
And look, the place where you're in right now, right? We think of our older adult centers as a hub for activity. There are also meals here, right? Y'all have meals here every day? Yeah. Do you enjoy your meals? Yes. Okay. That is one way in which we're making sure that at least one meal is affordable every day, and contribution is voluntary. You have two. Oh, see, I got to come hang out with y'all a little bit more. Breakfast and lunch? Breakfast and lunch, right? We've got other programs that might have lunch and dinner, right? And the affordable, at no cost, suggested contribution coffee. So the Older Adult Center itself was originally created on the idea that food and being available is important for day to day. I mentioned transportation services earlier. We've got citywide programs for that. And then obviously we work really closely with the Department of Social Services and others to make sure that if you are entitled to certain benefits, whether it's SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or cash assistance, that we're getting you enrolled and keeping you enrolled in those programs, right? So those are some of the things that we're doing across the board. And as I mentioned with the workforce programs, obviously if you want to continue working, right? Some people say 80 is still the new 80. But if you still want to give, there are opportunities for that. And some of our programs are subsidized, right? We have like a foster grandparent program. If you still want to come out and participate, we're always recruiting. So if you're interested, it's a little stipend, but really you get food and you get a Metro card, or you get access to transportation so that you could participate fully. So those are some of the things with us. But I think this entire group here, whether it's SCREE and DREE, you want to talk a little bit about SCREE and DREE? And making sure that you enroll, you could get your rent freeze. That's another big thing. Food and housing, two big things to make sure that you could be affordable in New York City.
So thank you. One of the things I wanted to mention, excuse me, so from the Department of Finance, we're more than happy to come out and do an outreach event, sit down with each one of you and go through the Department of Finance programs that are available. One, as the mayor mentioned, is the SCREE program, the Senior Citizen Rent Increase Exemption Program. The other is DREE, Disabled Rent Increase Exemption Program. And these, so for the Senior Citizen Rent Increase Exemption, if you're 65 years of age or older, and your annual income is $50,000 or less, and you're in a rent-regulated apartment, you can qualify for that Senior Citizen Rent Increase Exemption. Disabled, if you are over 18, have a documented disability, meeting those same income criteria, that's a program you can qualify for. Once again, willing to come out here, sit down one-on-one with every one of you, and offer those programs to you.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And so there are a lot of things that are available to you. You need to know about them. And so why don't we do one of those? Why don't we do one of those informational briefings? Come down. You give the basic information, your income. It's just basic things that we can start the process of saying what people are qualified for. Okay? All right. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Mayor.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good, good.
Our main concern here is the buses when they're too crowded and school gets out with the teenagers. Twice I had to get off the bus.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand the bus driver can't do nothing. He's driving, and he's not aware what's going out in the back.
Right. Well, they're being disorderly.
Yes.
They what? What you say?
Yes. Yes. One had a backpack and he's hitting me. So I put my hand, I said, take your backpack off.
Right.
He goes, oh, lady, shut up. I was like, oh, no, he didn't.
That disrespect,
Yeah, and they threaten you.
Right.
They have, because they have a lot of time, and especially at the ferry.
Mm-hmm.
And when not only, I can understand teenagers, they're going to school, they don't have a bus pass or whatever you call it, fine. But when you have adults, old people getting on the bus and just look at you and keeps walking, they don't pay.
Right.
They should have do something with that. We're supposed to pay. We want good service, we got to pay.
Right. Talk to. I know we do. Who have? I'm talking about Captain. Are you? Good. Well, who does the? What buses are out here? Are they? Mm. Right. You're all calling it out, so it's a problem. I know we do when we normally have when school is out. We normally have school officers that are there. Just in general.
Absolutely. We have our ICOs, NCOs. We even have our traffic team out there during dismissals. We have at the ferry, we have a whole command there that they're like rushing these kids out, either take the ferry, jump on the train or the buses. So we do have a lot of cops out there.
And it's such a delicate balance because we never want to over police our children, and it may be hard for us to imagine, but we were young and terrorists once, Yeah. No, I agree. So what we do with our DYCD, Department of Youth, I think the move is we should figure out how we can do some intergeneration. Matter of fact, Commissioner Stewart, how do we do some intergenerational things? Because I think if a school hears from you how you feel about this, children would think differently. And so even if we put together a sort of a small video hearing what some of our older adults are saying, and then children are going to think differently. They're going to, right now, no one is telling them. And as we were talking about earlier, everything to them is confrontation. It's confrontation, where in a different generation, when you saw that older adult, you came from the position, you're going to respect them, what have you. With our young people, they're in an environment where everything is confrontation. So I think there's a way of communicating with them so they could acknowledge and pause for a moment. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, so this is happening every day, or this is happening on just certain bus lines? All right, listen, I'll talk to you afterwards. We have a youth response team, and their job is to make sure that the kids travel from school to their bus or to the trains, and they will be in the corridor. So we'll speak afterwards. Maybe we might send some cops there to ride the bus with you. So school safety agents are very important to us, too. We have programs where we teach kids how to de-escalate these situations, but we really have to take a step back. Some kids are just bad. Now, the kids that we're dealing with, they listen to us. We teach them about gang violence. We teach them about financial, how wellness. So we have those kids, but we are hoping to get the other kids on our side too. And the situation is this: our kids are doing amazing things. How much I stand there and the kids in these programs tell me, if it wasn't for this program, I don't know what I might be doing. So our school safety agents are involved, and our community affairs officers, they're involved too. But again, we have to realize that some of these kids are just bad, So what we'll do after I leave here, we'll talk to you. We'll send our youth response team there just to make sure that the buses are safe for you, okay?
And Commissioner Stewart has been doing some amazing things with our young people. I didn't forget you, ma'am. Trust me. I'm not going to leave until I get your question.
Mr. Mayor.
He's teaching he's teaching them everything from golf to how to fly planes to real estate. Young man got his real estate license, and we know oftentimes with some of the children who are considered to be bad is the lack of opportunities. Some of these children are going homes to where there's a lot of issues in those homes, and we try to proactively catch them before it's a problem. But I think that using your example, ma'am, I think our children look at videos a lot. I think putting together a real video, a small something to talk about what you're sharing on how you feel, because they don't know how you feel. Talking about how you feel, and some of those interactions. I really think it's not gonna get all, but I think some of them, when they walk on, they're going to have a second thought of, hey, this could be my mother, this could be my auntie, this can be, someone that's, in my family. So let's look at that. I'm going to have our creative comms look at that, okay?
And Mr. Mayor, I'll just add
yes.
that in partnership with NYC Public Schools and DYCD, we've launched some intergenerational programs over the last few years as part of the Cabinet for Older New Yorkers, which we pull together all the city agencies, just like a panel like this, and make sure that we're thinking about what does it mean for each agency to honor, respect, support, launch new programs for older New Yorkers, right? And so over the last year, we've had 100 young people and older adults with DYCD and NYC Aging in various developments throughout NYCHA. I've got to think about which one is in Staten Island, where they actually did videos together. And the idea was get to know each other, so that's the place where you start from respect, right? It's the same theme that I've been hearing over and over again. And with public schools, ageism is a thing, right? Whether it's young people thinking about the Wicked Witch and a certain idea of what an older adult is, and may not be connected to their own grandmother, or those folks may not be in their lives. There's a whole curriculum that we developed with Chancellor Banks and others previously that has been rolled out to more and more schools over the last 2 years. So it's a place where we can build. We spent a lot of time in Brooklyn South working on this curriculum. It's been spread across the boroughs, but I think it might be something perfect that we could do in this community.
No, and that's a good point, because now that I think about it, we say we have this whole respect for all thing going on in schools, and I don't know, is respect for all? Do we include older adults in that respect for all curriculum?
I think we do. There are two different. There's the anti-ageism curriculum, and then there's the respect for all. And some teachers are actually blending, because those are all good resources, right?
Right.
Blending them and bringing some of those projects forward. But I think there's much more we can do there.
Yeah. You wanted to add something? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sure. At DYCD, we have intergenerational programs that we run. But one thing that's very important that we didn't get a lot of feedback on, we have community service block grants, right? Especially for the North Shore of Staten Island. Whenever that survey comes out, you need to respond to that survey, because all those programs are determined by community needs. You're the largest population, right, in New York City now. If you respond that you need more senior programs, DYCD will provide federally funded and state funded programs for seniors, instead of having maybe youth development, maybe instead of having immigration programs. But you have to respond. You have to respond to the survey, and you have to vote, because if you just sit back and do nothing, then it's not going to change. So you have to do those surveys. I was on Staten Island Cable TV promoting those surveys, and we had a very small response from the seniors on the North Shore. So next time when it comes out in 2 years, you have to respond.
Great point. Somebody else want to raise anything? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
CCHR?
So, like the mayor said, we were all young and sometimes crazy. But how many of us remember when we were kids, we were like, adults can't tell me what to do. They don't know what I'm going through. They don't know my life. So at the Commission on Human Rights, one of the initiatives that we have is our Yes Council, which is Youth for Equity and Solidarity. And so what we do is we bring them in, we teach them about all the anti-discrimination laws. As the mayor was saying earlier, in New York City, it is illegal to discriminate against someone because of their age in housing and employment and in public spaces. So then what do these folks do? They go back and teach their peers about that. And so I am hearing whatever I'm hearing from here is we're going to strengthen our ageism curriculum as part of that. And then if you have grandchildren, if you have friends who have young children who want to be part of the Yes Council, this is about the time where we put the application out and folks can apply, be part of that cohort, and they can take that information back to their schools, back to their communities, and be ambassadors for Together NYC as part of this Yes Council.
Yeah, and I think that you really opened up a good question because we're big on stopping discrimination on all levels, but I don't know if we put enough energy in ageism discrimination, and we should really re-examine what we're doing with both human rights, DOE, Department of Aging. We need to look at are we doing enough to send out? Because I don't see the advertisement. I don't see a lot of stuff around ageism.
Yeah.
So you
We need a campaign.
Huh?
We need a campaign.
Yeah, we need to do a whole campaign around that. That's a very good point that you raised. Where am I going? How are you? You were chopping at the bits, ready to go.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Mary Lou.
How are you, Mary Lou?
Good.
That's a beautiful piece you're wearing.
Yes.
Mhm.
Good afternoon, Mayor, and everybody.
Yes.
And then I just want to ask regarding housing again.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Why do it take so long for seniors to be contacted after completing application for public housing? I'm hoping that more senior housing will be built.
Yes. Okay. Yes. You want to? Who am I? You talking about public housing or housing in general? Affordable housing. So why don't you both touch on it?
So the question was specific to the timing it takes for you to get a response from when you submit an application? Mm-hmm. Right. We can talk one-on-one on that if you have a specific situation with Housing Connect, because again, all of that goes through that system. And if there is a delay in you getting a response back from that, I'd like to know that and take it back to the team so we can fully address that situation.
But we want to be really and manage people's expectation. We want to be honest. The volume of requests for housing far exceeds the amount of housing we have. There's just the demand is overwhelming. And, so people sometimes, we were at one event and the person stated they put in for housing. Why did it take so long? What is your list now? How long is the waiting list for NYCHA now? Rough. Come on, whisper in our ear. 80,000 people are requested. And do we have numbers on Housing Connect? Do you know how many?
I don't have the numbers on me, but again, as you said, we build a unit for 200 units. So we're going to get about 30,000 applications. For it, right?
So the problem is the inventory. We need to build more. And so when you put in, you're competing with 80,000 if it's NYCHA. God knows how many thousand if it's Housing Connect. That's the problem. We don't have the volume. So it's not like folks are saying, well, we don't want to get to you. We have an apartment. We don't want to get to you. No, the volume is just unbelievable of the demand that we have.
Because some of them don't have access to, they not, no computer, they got to go on a computer.
Yeah, so talk to me about that. What do we do? What do we do?
So what we have, we have housing ambassadors across the city in different boroughs. I can connect with the ambassadors for this area to come to this location. What they do is they come and they help all applicants and with seniors to apply and to get themselves ready for the application process.
Can you tell them what a housing ambassador is?
So housing ambassador are folks that work in the communities that come and they come out to locations such as this and provide education services for those who are applying for affordable housing. And they will come and they will help you, navigate the system if you're not familiar with it, to teach you how to work that system to get your name and your application into the system. So again, I can connect with folks here to, connect with the housing ambassadors for this area.
Right. Okay.
I think, Mr. Mayor, what we'll also do, since the team here, all of our older adult centers also have case assistance and support with applications and so on. So I think it might make sense to do a joint event with the case assistance people here. Yeah? Okay, great.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And while we're back here, we're going to get the other hand. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Mr. Mayor.
How are you?
Fine. I want to address something that has to do with the senior center, our senior center.
Yes.
They have a bus, used to have a bus called CASC that used to pick up the people at their houses and bring them to the center. And now they stopped it, and there are people that cannot make it because they have no other way of getting here.
What was it? What type of bus? It was a van?
It was a green, like a big green van that would pick people up at their houses and bring them here and then bring them home.
So anyone from the center, what happened? The van broke down? Was it? They, okay. All right. So we listen. Your council person out here, their capital dollars can be used to get you a van, and so you should request your council person. Who's the council person in this area? I'm sorry, Hanks. Councilwoman Hanks. You should reach out, invite her here. She could use her capital dollars to purchase you a van. That's what your capital dollars can be used for. So you should communicate with your local council person, Councilwoman Hanks. We should give them the office number. Okay. 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 Yep. Okay. So see, you ask, and you shall receive. From the councilwoman's office. I'm sorry. What's your name? Tom. Okay. You can't forget that. So all right. So you're gonna connect with Tom, and this way can set up a communication with the councilwoman's office and see the potential of getting you a van. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, hello.
How are you?
Okay, my name is Agnes Cooper.
Yes.
I'm the granddaughter of Augusta Washington, but I need your help. There's no senior citizen in the United States that have been abused like I have, and I'm asking for 120th precinct to really be investigated, and the DA. I purchased a home 30 years ago. My house was paid off 17 years ago. But usually when there's a crime and I call the 120th precinct, they say to me, isn't that the same thing that you call us for before? They cannot make a police report because it's going to show that they are involved. On January the 3rd, 24, about 24 police from the 120th precinct came and said, listen, we are here to get you out of your home. You just been renting. I bought my home 30 years ago. It's paid off 17 years ago. They had a car across the street. They said, listen, if you keep talking, get off this land. You see the car across the street? I said, what's about that car? Said, we're taking you to the psych wall if you don't hurry up and get off this property. I didn't have at that time, my pressure was going up. I showed them proof. My house was paid off, okay? And I got off. I was able to leave the property. Before I could leave, they pulled a big truck in front of my house and load up everything in front of the house. But before that, usually when I call them, they would ask me, do that camera work? I call you because someone is trying to break my door down. Why are you asking about the camera?
So let me do this, ma'am, because it seems like this is a personal agenda. I'm sorry. So let me do this. Let's Commissioner, can you, since she's talking about a particular precinct, can you just sort of just look into exactly what's happening? Let the commissioner find out what's happening. Right, okay. Let us go into it, because this is an individual situation, and I don't want to go into the privacy of your situation. Okay.
I need a place to stay.
The commissioner is going to speak with you before he leaves. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
And one last thing: imagine your grandchild going to school and they kidnap them out of school because they don't want to sell their house while the kids is in it.
Okay,
child go to school with
give the commissioner, the commissioner's going to come and speak with you, okay? Where am I?
Good afternoon, Mayor.
How are
Thank
you?
you for coming. This table is a lot of issue with the driving.
With the
they
what?
mean driving to the city.
Okay.
Because they were complaining about it in Staten Island, they got too many toll. Now it's not only toll, they got a congestion price. So they really fed up with all the toll issue. How to resolve the issue?
The toll?
Too many toll, too many pay the bill. Now congestion price, go to the city again.
The congestion pricing, again, the governor and the MTA, the city is not in control of that. And so this is a question you really want to present to your state lawmakers. You know, I know the tolling on the Staten Island Bridge has been an issue for a long, long time. Remember, Borough President Jimmy Otto was something that he fought for. He and I combined together to get a ferry from out here, because you only outside the ferry, you really don't have the level of access and transportation as other parts of the city. But the whole congestion pricing conversation, the whole conversation about the tolling on the bridge, that's outside the mayor's control. I know people think the mayor does everything, you know, no matter what happened. No matter what happened, it's, you know what, go get that darn mayor, you know. But there's other parts of government. And so your state lawmakers can address the tolling and the congestion pricing conversation.
Thank you, Mayor.
Where am I going?
Right here. Me again, Mayor.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Mayor.
Okay.
Table 11. This group has been very reliant on ferry and bus scheduling.
Yes.
Travel out of the city, from Staten Island. And they had a very difficult time because they depend on ferry and buses. A lot of times they get off a ferry, they walk in there to the distance to the bus, they always miss the bus. Scheduling is not enough time for them to, from ferry to walk to the bus station. How do we improve it?
We want to align the ferry and the bus so that they're there when the ferry pulls in, that the bus comes. Is that what we're saying?
That's correct.
Yes,
Mayor.
yes. And again, MTA is a state issue, but we would definitely communicate with the MTA and talk about that idea of aligning the bus and the ferry together, so that when people get off, particularly late at night, when people get off, the bus is there, you could get on the bus, and that seems a reasonable thing to do. We know the schedule of the ferry, and they control the schedule of the buses, so let's see if we can get some type of alignment to that.
Yeah, when they miss the buses, sometimes they got to take a wait for half an hour for another bus.
Yeah, no, that's no good. We know what time the ferries are coming in. We should do a better alignment on that. And so we communicate with the MTA and see what they think about that idea. Okay?
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes.
Yeah,
Get in the back. Somebody has to get a mic in the back.
I can contribute to that, Mr. Mayor. Before
Yes.
we move
Okay.
on.
Okay. No,
I
hold
just
on.
wanna
Hold on. One moment. Hold on.
I just want to mention, so the Staten Island Ferry reports to the Department of Transportation. So what we try to do is when the ferry is delayed for some reason, we always try to contact the MTA booth on the premise of the St. George Ferry Terminal. Similarly, we expect that the MTA would contact us if the buses are either running late or the Staten Island Rapid Transit is running late. So we do have a system in place to coordinate. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work, but I will bring this back to the ferry, and perhaps they can reopen discussions with the MTA at the ferry terminal.
Sounds like a plan. Okay, we heard that. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Hi. My question is, if they have money to build housing and put up storages, why couldn't they just put up housing for seniors or homeless people?
You said if they have money to put up.
They have nothing but shelters and storages out here.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't they just build housing?
Okay, first tell me who's the they.
I don't know who they is.
Okay,
I'm just like, I would like answers.
Okay, so when you look at a storage, let's break it down. When you look at a storage facility, it's on private property. You can't dictate what people do on their private property. You know, only time we will have say-so on how tall a person could be, or how high a building can go, or subsidy is when we say, hey, you have to put some affordable units inside there. And as I stated, we have financed you know, and I'm sure HPD, you could give some of the background. We have broken records on the amount of affordable housing that we've built. And so depending on the location, if it's privately owned, we can't mandate this what someone does with their private property. If they want to build higher than they're allowed to, or they want to get city subsidies, then we can get in and say, hey, we want it to be either senior housing, affordable housing, et cetera. Now, when it comes down to shelter, the housing system is built in shelters also. If someone is, like we had a fire the other day in the Bronx, and these families were displaced, you need a shelter to accommodate them. We had 20,000 migrants and asylum seekers that came in. You need a shelter to handle them. Some people can't live independently. We have supportive housing and safe haven to help them through. So the housing system is not only those who are renters, those who are privately owned, those who own co-ops and condos, but there also is the shelter system. You gotta have a shelter system for those who need emergency shelter care, and that is something we're seeing more and more and more. And know what else is interesting? We're seeing a large number of people. I was speaking with my folks over at our supported services. We're seeing a large number of people that are coming from outside the city, not migrants and asylum seekers, but people who live in other states are now coming to New York, and that is also an increase in our shelter population that we didn't even expect. Is coming out of nowhere. People are coming here to this city. You know, for whatever reason, that population is growing. If I lived in another municipality and I had a mayor like Mayor Eric Adams, I would want to come and live here also, you know. But that is one of the problems we're facing. But we're building everything, ma'am. Where's my next table? We done? Okay. Let me get this woman before we leave. How are you? Yeah, how are you doing? Yes. Is that microphone on? I'm not here.
Some people are not paying, and it is unfair
Right.
that we seniors are paying. Okay, the students are not allowed to pay, right? But most of the people are not paying in the buses.
We've been cracking down on those, especially buses. We've seen that a lot. And the MTA and NYPD, they're doing different joint operations to crack down because that does take away from the revenue from the TA. And it goes into fixing the system, making sure the system is operating correctly. So we have been cracking down on that. Okay?
Yeah, because I observed before, Mayor, that there are police in the buses checking the people who are not paying.
We're doing a combination of that, and they're doing different operations. You know, how you doing? That was the shortest guy in school back then. Listen, I got to go. I got a couple of more events. Really great being out here with you. You gave me 3 questions already. You know, yes, all right.